Hello, everybody. Welcome back to SHCTV. This is Secondhand Coke. Ready to review for you the totally boring episode 5 of With Love, Meghan. Right after this.
So many frames of mind, so many ways life could be easy if you could stay. We are losers now. We'll get by somehow. Promise me.
Welcome back, everybody. Sorry it's taken me so long to review episode 5 for you, but it was just so boring. I needed to take a little break from the Meghan show for a little while. That being said, let's get started. Before we go into anything to do with the episode, I want to talk about some rumors, and they're probably not anything groundbreaking. The stuff that's going around is getting pretty well covered in the press, it sounds like to me. But first of all, I've heard rumors that there are a lot of fights going on in Montecito that are around Meghan's Instagram use. And ever since she started Instagram at the beginning of the year, it has been a bone of contention with Prince Harry. There was a big fight about it, purportedly in Vancouver when they were at the Winter Invictus Games, and it was one of the fights that resulted in Meghan leaving a little bit early, supposedly. But so that's one thing that's going around, and the fights are especially incandescent, supposedly, when she posts the children. Harry doesn't even want their backs being posted. But that is kind of the compromise that they have reached. Harry doesn't want to be featured in any of the pictures. He doesn't want to be mentioned in any of the Instagram captions. But we know that there have been captions where Meghan has put, "Thanks to my H for taking the picture," or where we have videos where you hear Prince Harry awkwardly in the background saying, "Okay, I'm recording," and then she makes some kind of advertisement for as ever, or some announcement about, "I just can't believe we kept it a secret this long, that it's going to be as ever instead of whatever the hell I called it the first time." So that's news. But this picture that she's chosen, with the children's bags, first of all, I don't think that child can hold that basket. That's not, I'm not buying that. I feel like Mr. Photoshop might be involved. But can we talk about Archie hanging on to her leg like that? I mean, the fact that she's probably colored the children's hair red, notwithstanding, can I can't. It's just I look. I've had kids. I've got a lot of kids. They're now bigger than me for the most part, but um, so they don't grab onto me like that. But I know what it's like to have kids hanging on your leg. I just would not post a picture with my son with his hands that high. Wouldn't let my son put his hands that high. Nor him kind of straddling my leg like that. I mean, what is she trying to convey? Because I just get the feeling, there was that video she posted with Archie's voice. We're assuming it's Archie's voice, and she's watering the plants, and he's like, "Okay, I'll water the plants if you want me to." And you just kind of get an insight just from that one line about what his little life must be like. And she's holding the baby sister, and he's just clinging on for to get his own kind of affection, and she reaches down, which that's a typical dynamic with your older kid and your younger kids, is that the baby's usually on your hip. I kept my youngest on my hip for way too long, but she's off of it now and she's fine. I mean, kids grow out of, they need to feel attached, but it does, you do get a little bit of cleanness from the older child who probably wants to be back on the hip because it's a safe place, safe feeling place for them. So I don't, I don't, I just think this picture is just not one I would put on for the world to look at. Um, I don't know. I just can't. I Yeah, right. I I'm just saying. We had the story come out too about supposedly Meghan and Harry, or actually it was supposed to be just Harry, had contracted with Netflix to do some kind of insider documentary about Diana. This is PR supposedly that Meghan put out. Harry repeatedly, they, a lot of their fights, and there are more and more fights, and you can tell because Meghan is getting more and more demonstrative in her Instagram posts with my age. I mean, it's obviously an it's overcompensating. I mean, you don't need to hear anything from anybody to make that logical leap. Any psychologist would say that sounds kind of, it's it's inappropriate because you don't own a person. A person's not yours. That's objectifying, which we're not surprised that she does as a narcissist. But with the Diana documentary, we know now that was not true, that was a PR stunt. Harry doesn't know. He doesn't keep up with what she's doing. And so she goes and she puts stuff in the media like this story about a Diana documentary. And then Harry finds out with the rest of the world. And that creates all of this tension within the house. And then she supposedly lies and spins the argument similarly to how she did with the Vanity Fair article that came out, the Just Wild About Harry one that we've talked about and that has been in the news a lot recently. How she totally manipulated that and made Harry believe that, oh, this was just media overstepping their boundaries. I'm just so sorry. I didn't know. I'm just this innocent provincial, little girl who ate Taco Bell. And so that's something going on too. There, basically, the rumors are there's a lot of fights, and usually those fights end with Harry just leaving. And Meghan still has enough control that she can dog whistle him back for special occasions. But from what I understand, that control is getting more and more tenuous. She's not able to control him as much as she used to. And he's very upset about the issues in the media, which I think he's finally starting to put together that she's the one doing it. And that she is posting everything, including their children, on Instagram. He did not want the children in the media at all, really. So that's the big news there. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing probably that you couldn't have deduced, but that's basically what I've heard. So I thought I'd pass on. Oh, the last thing I want to say is that in the subtitle of this article, Meghan and Harry signed a $100 million partnership with Netflix in 2020. I am so sick of reading that. It was not anything close to $100 million. You can take that to the bank. Meghan and Harry have not been paid anything close to $100 million. And I'll tell you what I think Meghan did, because she's obviously the one who put the numbers out into the media. And as we know from the latest Vanity Fair article, that um, Netflix has confirmed that while they're not going to share that actual number, it was nowhere near 100 million. So that's confirmed. And so I don't know why articles continue to post that they had a $100 million partnership, because they didn't. And what I think Meghan did there was she considered all of these projects they were going to be working on and all the people that would have been hired for these projects and how much they would have been paid and how much it would go into production costs. And if they made a whole lot more than what they actually made in terms of content for Netflix, all of that together might have equaled somewhere close to $100 million. I don't even think that that is an accurate number. I think that's grossly inflated, but I have a feeling that's what she was doing because she likes to take a little piece of the truth and spin it into something that sounds more grandiose than it actually is. It's just something that she does regularly. So there's that. I don't want anybody to think ever that they got a $100 million deal. They did not. They didn't. It just didn't happen. So I think it's time to stop printing it and stop, repeating it. Just didn't happen. We start out in Montecito with Megan driving around in her car, pointing out things like her farmer's market stand where she got apricots yesterday and this antique shop she really likes. And maybe we'll pop over there at some point if we're good, I guess. She'll take us to the antique store. She doesn't in this episode. It just so happens. So don't hold your breath for it. But she lets us know that in today's episode, Abby and Kelly, and by Abby and Kelly, she means Abigail Spencer, her suits friend, and Kelly Zafin, who is the one she upstaged on the red carpet at the Children's Hospital LA Gala before she was unceremoniously kicked out for gate crashing. But nonetheless, they're coming over to Megan's house. Apparently, they've all been friends for a long time. I mean, I suppose Megan's been friends with Abby for a long time because she dates back to Suits, but I don't know where and how she meets Kelly. And even though they spend a very long, tedious amount of time going into how and where they met, somehow I emerged from that still not knowing how she met Kelly Zafin. Nonetheless, I'm going to cut Kelly a lot of slack in this episode because if you don't know, you might as well know she lost a child. She lost her son to a viral infection when he was around 9 years old. And then I understand her daughter, who is maybe preteen aged, has a pacemaker. So she has a lot going on. So she's exactly the kind of person that Megan would probably prey upon, to be honest. So for some reason, we're trapped on this car ride with Megan, and she goes through her menu for her visit with Kelly and Abby or Abs. And she talks about how they both like to eat really light and healthy. And so we're going to start with some crudité, natch, and I think a beautiful fish, and we'll salt bake it. And Megan tells us Kelly is a great cook. Abby has other strengths. And thus begins this prolonged bit where Abby screws stuff up in the kitchen. And we're supposed to laugh and feel like it's charming. But first, Megan has to go to the flower mart so that she can get some flowers to put in a vase in her house for when her girlfriends come over. And that is where we are going next. Now, we're going to take a time travel machine back in history to this article from the Irish Independent entitled, I Never Wanted to Be a Lady Who Lunches. I Wanted to Be a Woman Who Works. Meghan Markle opens up about fame. And this is just after. I just wanted to bring back this article because it doesn't age well since this entire episode is about Meghan putting on a ladies' lunch. And I just felt the need to point that out before we take our adventure in the flower mart. First, while it seems obvious to me that a place where you have to keep fresh flowers fresh would probably be regularly or have a regulated climate, Meghan seems perplexed by this the whole time, and she cannot stop talking about how cold it is in the flower mart. It's like being in an ice chamber, she says. And then she's like, so when you're going to go and pick out flowers, the first thing you do is think about, what color do I gravitate to? And if you look over in the right bottom, you'll see what color Meghan gravitates toward. And it is beige, to the surprise of absolutely no one, I think. So Megan's teaching us how to do flowers, essentially, and she believes that to do this, she needs to give us metaphors to other things because we're just idiots and can't understand that you have to pick. What she's saying is basically you need to pick flowers that match each other and that look good. So, but she can't just say that because we're idiots. So she's going to give us a metaphor, and the metaphor she picks is, it's like picking out an outfit. You have to accessorize in a way that makes sense and that matches. And it's just so hilarious and so characteristically unself aware that I just have to laugh. You don't dress or accessorize well, Megan. I've got two examples here on this screen, like wearing black espadrilles with a summer dress, or I mean, those are like candies from the late 1990s, those shoes, and they look ridiculous with that dress. You don't know how to accessorize. You wear crazy jewelry that is just cheap and tacky looking, even though it's probably very costly, because you mistakenly think that, or Megan mistakenly thinks that a costing a lot equals class. Um, then we have this example from the worst that Meghan has ever looked, in my opinion. And that is when she went to the mosque in South Africa. And she wore that dress that looks like a parachute and then has this headscarf on, but she's got her wig hanging all out from under. Does she not understand the purpose of hijab or of head covering is to put the hair underneath and to have, modesty? I know modesty isn't her thing, walking around Colombia or Nigeria naked for the most part at a school, for heaven's sake. But this made me so mad, the way she was dressed for this particular visit, for the South Africa tour. It is so disrespectful. And then she just looks ridiculous. I don't, and she's gonna use shopping or accessorizing and getting dressed as an example or a metaphor for us when she can't get dressed herself. I mean, she looks like she got dressed in the car. What is going on? Just stop. So, as if the getting dressed metaphor wasn't enough for us, she needs to pull another metaphor out, because I guess she knows that some people don't know how to get dressed. She's not self aware enough to know that that includes her. But now she switches to tell us that basically we're going to pick flowers that match by using a story metaphor. What story are you going to tell with your flowers? If you have these pink flowers here, then these would make sense in that story, and that would make sense together. And then she says, these are all pretty and pink. Lily would love these. She only talks about Lily now in her shows. It's Lily does this, Lily does that. She doesn't, Archie just, I guess, waters flowers and he caught a fish or something. She did do one story about him later on. But so she's got this nice bundle of pink flowers with some muted tones and some very vibrant tones that look nice together. And she's like, Lily would love this. But then she's like, but that's too much for me. So she takes out all the color, and then she ends up with this wad of like beigey creams that are just, I don't think they look particularly outstanding. I think she needs something that gives it a splash of color, but of course she doesn't have that because she's the queen of beige. So that's what happens. Basically, the moral to the story is pick flowers that match and do what Lily likes, not what Meghan likes, because apparently Lily's got some taste and Meghan doesn't. She's just beige. So the next part, Meghan sees dogwood. And she is just flummoxed by what are these branches from? Like, and I'm like, aren't dogwoods really prolific? I mean, I see they're everywhere in the South. And they've got like we used to have like a church metaphor for them when I went to church more. Where the branches were used in the myth or in the story, which may or may not be true, that dogwood was used as the cross, and so it now it grows flowers that have like the thorny crown blood stains in the center. It gets graphic, how the crucifixion is dealt with, but um so that's where, I mean, I've heard about them since I was a child, especially around Easter. They're everywhere, and Megan didn't know what they were. And that just seemed, for someone who is so into flowers and flower arranging, I would have thought that she would have known what dogwood was. So that was weird. And they're like, gosh, they're great. They're amazing. Can I just take a minute and talk about something that is very serious and that is very important to me? And that is overuse of the word amazing. Everything now is amazing. And so many things that people say are amazing are not amazing. This is, I mean, they're plants, and that I love dogwood, but amazing, there are things that would be amazing. Like amazing should be an over the top word. It amazes you, like your mouth should fall open. And if your mouth is falling open over something that you can see in your landscape every day, I don't think we're understanding what amazing means. But that's my little rant over about the just complete overuse of amazing. And I will move on and not mention it anymore, maybe. But I just wanted to take a moment and have this public service announcement that amazing should be used only to reflect things that are really jaw droppingly, actually amazing. So just food for thought. So then we're done on our shopping trip with Megan, and the show titles come up, and I'm like, oh my God, are we not done with this show? Is it really still just starting? And I've gone through this whole flower picking experience with her, and these shows are so tedious. If you're not watching them, please just don't, because it's not healthy. Like, I had to take this break between episode 4 and 5 because of the sheer tedium of what is going on before my very eyes with each of these shows. So yeah, we've gone on a field trip with Megan to pick out flowers, and now we're just getting to the show opening titles. With love, Megan, which is her own handwriting, and I don't like the way that looks. Again, I'm going to do a handwriting analysis on her. I might do it next and put off episode 6 for a little while. But it's just that spindly looking handwriting, and it is so narcissistic to make a show title with your own handwriting. She is obsessed with it, and it's a reflection of how she's obsessed with herself. But we'll get there when we talk about the handwriting, because I love just when I don't have any kind of credentials. It was just something that I got into in college, kind of a rabbit hole that I fell down, and so I like to do it when I can, and so we will. But yeah, her opening title is her handwriting, and it drives me nuts every time because it's stupid and it just doesn't look filled out and professional and whatever. It's not even charmingly homespun. It's okay. So now we've got our flowers, but Megan's like, okay, let's make some flowers to Guy. And Guy's like, dude, I don't have thumbs. What do you want from me? So he has to get up, and you can tell he's tired of getting up. and he follows her over to wherever she's going to put her flowers together. And then we go through the task of Meghan doing a tutorial about flowers. And so we have to again have a metaphor or a simile in this case. So Meghan says, just as with cooking, I always have to have a garbage vessel. A garbage vessel? Do you mean a trash can or a rubbish bin? Like for my UK friends, a, a garbage vessel? You're talking, it's a trash can, Megan. Stop it. Stop. You don't have to elevate trash cans. Just say, I keep a trash can where I can stay organized and throw things away. And basically, her whole motto is clean as you go, which I'm a big clean as I go person. When I cook, that's part of the intrigue for me is timing and trying to keep everything clean while I'm keeping something cooking and getting it all out at one time so that when we sit down at the table, I've got a clean kitchen. It's a problem for, and my family's like, Mom, come on, come sit down. But so for Meghan, it's a way of life that she doesn't see the need to seek therapy for. And she talks about how Lily has a song for it. Clean as you go, clean, 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 clean as you go. She's clearly going to be a lyricist, Meghan. What is the point of this? Just say what you're talking about. I keep a trash can to the side so that I can keep things organized as I go. Boom, done. Done. I won't put you through the step by step putting flowers together and arranging them. I'm just going to kind of put the end product here. And what you can tell that somebody came and straightened up these flowers for Meghan. Like she's going for this horizontal structure here, which is fine. She says some things about not using a clear vase or vase, that because you don't want to see the dirty water, which I agree with. But we'll talk about dirty flower water a little bit later. And you can tell though that Meghan made a thing, and then somebody came behind her and changed it around and made it actually look better. Because what she's got in this slide is not what is the end result. So I don't even think she's arranging these flowers. That's the conclusion I draw. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But it just looks to me like she made something very jumbly and junky looking, and somebody's like, okay, let me go fix this. And then we'll put it in front of the camera. That's what it looks like to me. Okay, and friends, we have gone through an entire flower lesson, and we're getting ready to do some more crazy stuff with flowers, like put them in ice cubes. Can I take a minute and just say that, sprinkling flowers all over food, I think is ridiculous, and I don't think that it would contribute very positively toward the taste. But to put flowers in ice cubes as decoration, ice cubes melt? And then the flowers are going to be released into your beverage and likely gather at the bottom of your glass. Or I guess Meghan says glass. But and then you have your beverage with soggy flowers just floating in it. I do not think this is a good idea. Nonetheless, we've gone through all this. The guests aren't even here yet. We've still got to have the guests for today come. So this is how long and tedious this is, even though it's like only 30 something minutes. It feels like half of my lifetime. But the next thing we do is put flowers in ice cubes so that she can put them in the drinks for Kelly and Abs. And I just am hardcore not in support of flower ice cubes. Sprinkle them on your salad if you want to make it look junky like that. Do not have weeds in people's drinks. That's not cool. I don't think she's thinking ahead on this. But what do I know? I don't have a TV show. Actually, I kind of do. I'm on YouTube. Huh. That's fun. Okay. So when Megan's making the flour ice cubes, if you're going to just defy reason and logic and accountability in life, and you're gonna get hell bent and you're gonna make flour ice cubes, you need to know, and Megan tells us that you need to use distilled water. And the only reason for that is because you can't see the flowers if you don't have used distilled water. So there's that. And she chuckles and tells us, "Oh, there's a reason, guys. You used distilled water. There's a special secret reason. Come, let me educate you. I am an educator." So then the next thing she shows us, her ice cube magic hosting tricks, is putting orange juice into these sweet little molds. Basically, you put the orange juice mold into the glass and the ice mold, and then you pour the champagne all around it for your mimosa, and then whatever leaks out as the ice melts from your orange juice ice cube is will fill the glass for your mimosa, your daily mimosa. And you just get the perfect amount of orange juice or some such nonsense. So that's the next thing. The next little activity we do on Megan's show is ice cube magic. And now that we've done that, I think what's happening next is the friends are arriving. So let's go take a look. So the first friend that shows up is Kelly Zafin, and we've got a screen there with Megan having written her name in calligraphy and announced her as advocate and friend. And when she shows up, she's wearing this white dress, and Megan says, "I'm okay if we're both in white." Well, good. I mean, did she think the woman's going to go home and change or something? You know, I'm okay if we're both in white. It's not your wedding day, Megan. You don't own white. So Kelly's there, and she's very gracious. She just always, to me, looks haunted. And I would be too if I had, what happened with her children happen to me. Like I said, I'm going to cut her a lot of slack. But Abby comes next, and she's wearing black, so I guess Megan's okay if Megan is salt and Abby's pepper for this day, because from what I know, salt and pepper aren't traveling much together these days. So Prince Harry is out, Abby is in, wearing black for the pepper symbolism, the salt and pepper. But so then they drink their mimosas, and thus starts the constant drinking that is on this show. Don't have a problem with drinking. I'm not a teetotaler, I'm like, why are you lit all day? I mean, Megan even made a joke like, "Welcome to Montecito," and I'm like, well, yeah, how nice. That's another thing that's not very realistic, or most of us can't get bombed all day and just sip mimosas when we're data processing or whatever it is that we're doing for our jobs. So, anyway, Abby shows up, and for some reason, I didn't see a screen where it flashed up Abby's name with any kind of credential. I don't know if it was there and I missed it, and God knows I'm not going back to try to find it. But anyway, Abby also shows up, and she's wearing black. So, yay, the friends are here. The drinking begins. Yahoo. So now that Abby and Kelly are here, we quickly find out that Abby is playing a role in this show, and her role is the foil, the zany "I can't cook," but flatter Megan nonstop in this episode. In every episode, somebody has to flatter Megan nonstop. That's just a given. But in this episode, Abby's playing that role, and Megan starts out when they're going to salt bake the fish, the branzino that she bought. Probably from some pretentious boutique bespoke fish market somewhere in Montecito. Megan starts to say, okay, so none of us are chefs. And Abby pipes in, no, you really are. No, she's not. Do you know what kind of education someone has to be called a chef? Like, you have to. No, that just made me mad for some reason, because I mean, to say, Megan's a good hostess, or something like that, if you want to say that, or she's a good cook, you can say that, but chef is a title, and it's something that people work really hard to earn, and Megan's not one. So no, Abby, no, no, that's wrong. All right. But so Megan says, we're gonna take we're gonna have some fish today, a nice salt baked branzino. So we need some salt, and Abby picks up, this little tiny measuring bowl of salt. And it's like, oh, is that what this is for? So, and then everybody just does a nice condescending laugh. Oh, Abby, you're so crazy. I just love you so much. Oh my God. No, we're gonna need more than that. So Megan goes in her pantry and gets like 800 bucks of kosher salt. And oh my gosh, Abby, you thought you could just use that little like cup of salt. Oh my gosh, you're so cute. It's just so cute. No, we're gonna need a lot more salt. It reminded me of the scene in Jaws where they're like, you're gonna need a bigger boat. That was the whole kind of vibe from this scene. So then Megan gives Abby and Kelly a bowl because she's the one teaching everybody how to salt bake, and then Kelly just looks like, what do you I salt let me if you don't know, salt baking a fish is a incredibly easy thing to do. And so Megan is like, okay, we want to put all of this salt in a bowl, and then we want to put water on it, but we want our texture to feel like sand at the beach. And you don't want it to be muddy and full. You want it to have some grip, like when it just grips around your bare foot when you're running in the beach and you're going to write 2025 in the sand. You just like that. And so then we get a look into Abby's bowl, and Abby, of course, has just screwed it up because it's screw it up in the kitchen, Abby. Isn't that so funny? And then we see that Abby clearly has too much water. So Abby's like, okay, wait, I'll go pour out some water. Everybody's like, great idea. Oh, great idea, Abby. Good for you. So Abby goes to the sink and she pours out the water, and she's like repeating to herself, Sandy Beach, like she's trying to remember a phone number or something. And and then we get that line that they have in the trailer where Abby says, see, I have to do it totally wrong to get it totally right. And everybody's like, yeah, girl power or whatever. So then they go through the whole thing where you basically cover the fish. You line the baking sheet with a kind of salt layer. You put the fish on top of it, and then you just basically completely encase the fish in salt if you're not sure what to do. And here is where we get like the first an Archie story. Now the Lily stories are plentiful. Archie stories are rare. So apparently Archie caught a trout, and they were like, what are you going to do with this trout? And they decide to salt bake it. And thus now we have to learn how to salt bake on this episode. Then we get this gratuitous scene where Megan asks each of them, do you want an apron? Probably because she's going to merch these aprons at some point if she ever gets any actual products for as ever instead of just jars and labels. But they're like, sure, I'll take an apron. They both tie them on, but you can see they do like this designer tie around their waist, and there's nothing covering the top. And I'm like, do you think the food's just gonna maybe splash onto your waist and down? You think the food's gonna follow that boundary? Why are you not why did you fold it over? Why can't it go over your neck and cover the top of your especially white dress? I mean, I just didn't understand it. I thought it was a total waste of time, and you can tell that it was done for style rather than function. So I'm just saying, I'm saying it now. She's gonna be pushing these aprons at some point. I just feel it. I just I'm just calling it now. So they get their fish covered with encased in the salt. Kelly's going to go wash her hands, which I'm glad someone is, because nobody has made a deal out of washing their hands, which in a post-COVID world is bizarre to me. It seems like everybody's washing their hands all the time for everything, which is supposed to. Anyway, I would think like on this health and wellness show, I'm sure Megan's got a line of health and wellness nonsense, but she's I just anyway, Kelly washes her hands. Jeez, I'm making too much out of it. So then Megan pulls out the crudité. How to style crudité. And we get the label with her writing on it, and then there's this song in the background. It's breezy wind in my hair song, because when I'm arranging food on a plate trying to make it look nice, I just feel like I'm running through a meadow with wind through my hair, and everything like is said in this song. But Megan is like, we have the flashback. There's always a flashback after the guest comes. It's very formulaic, and I'm realizing the formula the more that I watch it. And it's kind of like when I used to have to watch Dora the Explorer with my kids. It made me feel safe. Like I knew, okay, so now we're doing the map part. Okay, so now we've got the big end conflict. Basically the quest archetype. But so I feel kind of safer, because then I'm like, okay, we got this part down. Okay, now the friends have arrived. Okay, good. Now we've done the main course. Now we're gonna have the flashback for something Megan did before their arrival. And so we're at the flashback scene where Megan tells us how to do crudité. And I'm like, you have done crudité in every single episode. You've already been told that it is cachet and that we're not doing crudité. Crudité is not cool anymore. Chef Roy Choi told you that, but whatever. Keep pushing it in, Megan. Just dig your heels into the ground. Don't ever change course. Never read the road conditions and do a detour. Just always dig your heels in. So Megan tells us, I never let a guest arrive without something on the table. Well, you know what? Sometimes I do, because I haven't gotten it ready yet or something. And, so maybe I put something down or offer a drink, and then maybe my crudité platter, which if I'm going to have crudité, I'm just going to go buy it at the grocery store. I'm sure you've got some kind of pretentious bespoke crudité store somewhere in Montecito. So I don't know why you don't just do that, and maybe she does. But anyway, so we get this lecture about the putting down something so that when her friends arrive, they would expect something to eat. And so then we've got like a flashback in time where the crudité is fixed, and Abby and Kelly are getting ready to partake of it. And that's this whole section here. Knowing how serious now it is that Megan never, she says never. She's not like, most of the time I want to have something down for my guests to eat right when they get there. But anyway, so now that we know how serious that is, she tells us, she drives that point home. My girlfriends would absolutely expect that I would have something to feed them. What? Well, that's not being a good guest, to go anywhere with any expectation. You just are happy to be invited, and whatever somebody gives you, you take graciously. And that's how being a guest is. But I guess, Megan employs her own expectations and projects them onto others, which is not a surprise. Now, Megan wants to tell us first of all, that they have a veggie platter in her house every day for her kids, which, not faulting her there. I would put out on the table like a bowl of fruit and some, vegetables like carrot sticks and stuff. My kids aren't, back then they would not have eaten the broccoli off a crudité platter or a radish. But we have carrots and cucumbers and things down, and I get that. That's fine. But then she has to tell us how to elevate, if we don't have time to make hummus or a dip from scratch, how to elevate it. And basically, how you elevate hummus, according to Meghan, is to move it from one container to another and pour olive oil on it. And I I don't think that olive oil is going to do that hummus any favors. I just don't feel that. But, Megan's told us, so now we know. But back to Megan's philosophies about crudité and her rationale. Her kids eat it. That's why they love eating vegetables. Her kids love eating vegetables, you guys. They love it. Our kids are just plebes. They don't know. Our kids don't like vegetables, apparently, but Megan's kids do. And so if we just make crudité platters for them every day, and cut up the vegetables, like, and really put some snap peas in there, and just pour olive oil and flowers on the hummus. She puts flowers on the crudité platter, and the colors of the flowers don't really jive with the colors of the food. The flowers really, they're not really the hostessing asset that Meghan thinks they are. And I mean, we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if there are ever any products for as ever, whenever, and whatever it turns out to be, they are going to include flour sprinkles, and nobody is going to buy it, because except for probably a sugar or two. I, it doesn't give, she says, it has a wow factor. No, no, no. So back to Kelly and abs. Back to time loop finished. Now we're back to the present, where she's hostessing Kelly and abs actively. Then they make a salad, and she goes through how to make a salad. We know. And then at the end, she's like, flour sprinkles, and Kelly or Abby, probably Abby, because Abby plays the role of sycophant in this whole thing. And she's like, "Oh, please." No. No one says please to flour sprinkles in a salad. And why are you showing people how to make a salad? They know. Even Kelly, Abby, who is playing the role of kitchen moron today, knows how to make a salad. You just put stuff in a bowl, like lettuce and stuff. Oh, and then she goes into this whole spiel about, and I'm gonna put some hemp hearts in there. I like the texture, the crunch. So she's putting hemp hearts in her salad, which is one thing. This next thing is outrageous, because the next thing she tells us is, so on my counter, I have flax seeds, hemp hearts, and chia seeds. And she says she puts them in the kids' pancakes. What? I don't like that. I mean, and if you want, like, rye seeds and bread, but pancakes, they're supposed to be a little sweet. If this makes sense to somebody, I have to come clean here and say that I don't know that I have consciously eaten flax seeds or hemp hearts. I've eaten chia seeds, but I wouldn't want them in my pancakes. And she does that to the kids. Put blueberries in the pancakes, Megan, or or just make a pancake, or you know what? Go all out and put chocolate chips in there sometime. I just Okay. Anyway, so by this time, her salt baked fish is ready, and she pulls it out of the oven, and it's right there, and she has to tell us how hard this salt shell has become. Like, we couldn't put together that in the oven, the moisture from the fish and the moisture that you put in the salt is going to harden when it's put in heat. But anyway, that's what happens, just in case, someone didn't know. Meghan is here to teach us. And so she goes through, now we're going to peel the salt casing off, and we're gonna think that it's gonna be so salty, right? But guess what? It's not. It's just going to be really moist and fantastic. So that's the big cooking secret here, is that you can encase a fish in salt, and then you have a nice moist fish. And salt baked fish is good. It is. And maybe it is a good trick because it's easy to do. And so, this particular cooking tip wasn't, I didn't mind it. It was kind of nice to be reminded about salt baked fish, because it's something easy to do at night for dinner, or if you want to do something with fish. Um, which, at the rate one of my sons is fishing nowadays, every now and again he gets one he can't throw back, and he just, anyway, it's a thing at my house. So I'm glad to have a fish tip. I've had salt baked fish, but I didn't remember it until now. So I appreciate Meghan going through this and telling people about it, because maybe people didn't know. And I always try to find something positive in these episodes. I really do. I don't find a lot, but I do try. So, long story short, then they get everything. They start plating everything. They pull the fish off the bone, and she shows how easy it is. And then she's got to throw olive oil and flowers all over it, and she's got these roasted tomatoes appear. And she dresses up the plate with some lemon and sprigs of rosemary, and probably mint leaf, because she's obsessed with mint leaves for some reason. Um, Probably because she drinks 800 mint juleps every day or something. But so then they've got everything plated, and it's looking pretty now. And so they go out into the garden so that they can dine al fresco. Meghan actually tells a story when they get out there that Lily got this doll called, like, uh, Barbie al fresco or something, and it comes with, like, a little bag that has a baguette in it, and something else that trendy people have hanging out of their recyclable bags. Um, so, and again, it's fine, but it's a Lily story. Archie caught a fish, but that's about all he contributes. So, but Lily's got all this stuff, and everything that she says about Lily is so stereotypically girly. Like, she talks about the pink flowers, girls love pink, and the baby doll that Lily got, Barbie al fresco or whatever it's called. And I know it has al fresco in it. And like Lily gets a baby doll. I mean, that is so. For someone who is supposedly so feminist and is working to advocate for women and girls. She sure does push hard on the stereotypes for girls. I mean, the biggest one of all being that she is only in her position because she married a literal prince, which is the biggest, arguably most damaging stereotype that exists about women and girls, is that you become whoever you're able to marry. But like I said, if you do watch this, or just know, for the sake of discussion with some intelligence about what happens with this, is that when she does talk about Lily, it is always enforcing something that is stereotypically girly, and not like the ultra liberal whatever that she says that she is. Then everybody notices the flower arrangement that Meghan made earlier, and they just fall all over themselves about the flowers. Now, Abs owns a flower company. I don't know exactly what that means, but they do. That is, Abby has her other skills. It just so happens that her skills are flower decorating, or having to do with flowers. And they're like, oh gosh, it's so beautiful. And Kelly just chimes in, yeah, it's gorgeous. Kelly doesn't say much, but like I said, Abby's the big, supporting character here. the little toady in this episode. And Meghan says, it was very peaceful to do. I just think that's a weird adjective. It was peaceful to do. I mean, I would have just said, yeah, really, thank you. I enjoyed it. It was, it was fun. Um, peaceful? Okay. So then they dig into the food and oh god, the flavor is just great, Meghan. Well done. And then we have somebody saying, "Oh, this is amazing," because everything, like I said, I'm not going off on my tangent again, but there's the word again. And they're like, "Well done." I'm like, "Well done. I saw you guys doing most of the work," because she puts her guests to work in these episodes, which I was like, I don't know that I'd ask my guests to work on making their own food. But yeah, let's compliment Meghan on something that we did. And Meghan, they're talking about, oh, I'm so glad we're girlfriends. Like it is so overdone, the talk about how they are such great friends, that I don't believe they're great friends. Like I don't believe it. These to me don't seem like three people who have anything in common with each other. Abby and Meghan, they work, but Kelly, I just wonder. She doesn't really fit in, and I kind of wonder if she's just someone who is good and is damaged, that Meghan has preyed on for something, because that's what she did to Harry, and that's in a lot of people, it sounds like. So she's always picking out the awkwardest looking kid of color, nonetheless, when she goes on her tours to drag around as her accessory. I mean, she really does try to pick up people who have damage. And poor Kelly, it's not like, I don't think people get over losing their children. I don't think you do. But I don't know. She just doesn't seem like she fits in. And so I don't buy that this is a big trio that hangs out together outside of the reasons for this particular show, or to pose for a Polaroid, which we'll see later. But Meghan's like, anyway, they're talking about their friendships. And Meghan's like, I have a shirt that says the best ships are friendships. What the puns? I've said it once, I've said it before. The only person who does punning well is Shakespeare, and he's dead. So, no. Nobody was even talking about ships, Meg. They just weren't. Yeah, okay. That's done. Still within the tedium of explaining how these women are such good friends, Meghan offers up, Kelly, we've been friends for a long time. And there's a Polaroid of Meghan and Kelly that just says me and Kelly. And I have no idea how they met or under what circumstances. And I don't know that she shares it. Again, not going back to check, because one time is enough. But, and then Kelly's like, well, you came to my wedding. Oh, I came to your beautiful wedding. Oh, that's right. Oh, wow. And I've been to a lot of weddings, and I wasn't necessarily close to the people who got married. I mean, I that doesn't mean anything, is what I'm saying. And so then they talk about Abby's connection with Meghan and how we met, and Meghan gets it wrong. She's like, well, we met on Suits. And Abby's like, no, we met in an audition. So, Meghan doesn't even know the history of these friendships herself, but, we have to talk about it ad nauseum and find ways within the discussion to talk about what a great friend Meghan is. But yeah, I'll audition first. And then Abby's like, well, with my floral company, Meg, you were my only consultant. Again, it's just a big brown nosing escapade, is what it is. It is an adventure in sucking up to her. So we've covered how Meghan met each of these women. And now we're going to talk about And then we connected as a friend group, which is so interesting. And it's like we have, well, look at this trio. Not we have laughter, we have so much fun, we have whatever. We just have this trio, and Megan is at the head of it, obviously. And Kelly offers, well, and we're able to be supportive of one another. And I don't think that that happens enough. Do you not have like friendships? Like, that's what friendships are, is supporting one another. I mean, it's also getting together and, gossiping and laughing and, saying questionable things about people you don't like. But it's just like, Kelly, do you need more friends if you don't think that women everywhere aren't connecting and supporting each other? That is what friendships are. I just didn't understand that comment. It seemed either superfluous or scripted or tragic or all three. Okay, the eating segment is now over. We're back in the house. We've eaten outside. This is always a feature. And so now we come back in the house and we get to marvel at Megan's flour ice cubes. And all I can see in those glasses is just those things melting and a bunch of wilted, soggy flowers floating around either on top of the beverage or collapsing down to the bottom in like this wet, weedy, seaweedy mess. That's all I can see. I don't understand flowers and ice cubes. I mean, I guess it's kind of a novelty maybe to do once, but it's not going to end well. It can't. The ice is going to melt. That's what happens. So now we're at the dessert segment, which is great because the dessert segment is the last one. And so Megan is like, okay, let's whip up a little dessert. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what's happening in my head. Like, she's just, spun into this whirling dervish of a dessert making frenzy, and her genius is getting ready to come out to play. And we're just going to watch and just be totally blown away by what's going on in Megan's head regarding dessert. Everyone just praises it. It's now time to praise the dessert and sing Megan's praises. Kelly loves it. Abby is just falling all over herself. This is great. I'm just all about the jam. And then that's it. And they're like, thanks, team. Thanks, crew. Thanks, everybody. And you get kind of the shot of the cameras like shutting down. And really, it looks to me like the crew can't wait to pack their stuff up and get out of there. But that's just me. I may be wrong. And then we get the end credit with love, Megan, scrawled out in that handwriting, and a song comes on, and that's it. And the groundbreaking dessert is ice cream on top of strawberry jam, and we have a picture that she picked strawberries with Lily. Um, Great. Yeah, we saw her clinging to you and holding that gigantic basket, which I don't see how a 3-year-old could navigate that, but okay, I guess with Photoshop, anything's possible. And so she puts that and some vanilla ice cream, some of her strawberry jam, her vanilla ice cream, and then like a mint sprig in there. And that it was the genius that was going on in her head. Here's what was going on in my head. Okay, I'm just gonna throw some ice cream in a parfait glass and just put some jam in there and a mint sprig. Genius. Fantastic. And then she drops, I was 13 years old and my first job was at Humphrey Yogurt. First of all, you were not 13 years old and allowed to work somewhere. You weren't. Their child labor laws, you weren't. And this is like the 18th place that she has said that she worked in her childhood, but everybody's like, she never worked. Like, daddy paid for everything, including the nose job, or the first one, where, I mean, you can tell, again, the plastic surgery is not very good here, because you can see the nose scars now. She can't cover them up very well anymore. But anyway, so apparently this is her rags to riches tale for this episode. So that part is done. And then, so that is all for today. The next episode, episode 6, is about, it's called The Juice is Worth the Squeeze, which it probably isn't. But what happens is she's having some friends over for game night. They're playing mahjong. So she gets an opportunity to, appropriate another culture. So that's it for today. I hope, you liked a little bit of gossip and a little bit of review of episode 5, or at least my perspective of it. If you did, I hope you will like, subscribe, share, and meet me back here in time for episode 6. Thank you for joining me today so much. It's good to be back after a little break, and I will be back soon. Thanks a lot, and goodbye.